You're listening to the Vocabit podcast, where I help students improve their vocabulary for the SAT, ACT, and life itself using my unique and research-backed story-based method. On this podcast, I'm sharing the best tips and tricks for a more enriched vocabulary and pain-free test day. Hello, and welcome to episode 62 of the Vocabit podcast. I'm Erica Abbott, a former English and history teacher, the author of the young adult novel Ahead of Her Time, and the founder of the eponymously named vocabulary company Vocabit. Last time we met, we spoke about moon words and how they inspired derivatives like lunatic because there was a lot of anecdotal evidence that a full moon could make people crazy. Anecdotal evidence meaning stories. An anecdote is, so-and-so's neighbor saw this, or even I saw that. It's a story about something that is supposed to have happened. It's not a once upon a time kind of story. But you want to be careful with how you use anecdotes because people sometimes try to use them to prove a point, but they can take it way too far. These claims can sound like, I saw a man from Winchester act crazy on a full moon. Therefore, men from Winchester go crazy on full moons. And an intelligent person, or someone grading your essays, might respond to such a claim by pointing out that all you have there is anecdotal evidence. You have a story. You saw one person acting crazy, but that doesn't mean anyone else does, and it doesn't even necessarily mean the moon is responsible. Anecdotes can be really helpful in proving points because, as you know, and as I always talk about, stories are an extremely effective way to convey ideas. But if you're trying to prove something, you need more than just an anecdote. The history of this word, though, has nothing to do with arguing. It's far more interesting. The word anecdote goes back to the juiciest tell-all novel of the Byzantine Empire. If you're not familiar, the Byzantine Empire was basically the eastern offshoot of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire got so big, they kind of split it into two. The west was based out of Rome, the east was based out of Constantinople, and when Rome was sacked, the eastern components of the empire lived on as the Byzantine Empire. Constantinople, by the way, is in modern-day Istanbul in Turkey. And in the 500s CE, there was a Byzantine emperor named Justinian. If you have ever stumbled upon Byzantine art, it is probably of Jesus, Justinian, or Justinian's wife. Justinian is now known as a saint in some sects of Christianity, and his big claim to fame is the Hagia Sophia, a gorgeous cathedral that is now a mosque in Istanbul, and the inside of it is such a cool confluence of cultures. If you are a Vocabit member and you're watching the video, not just listening, you can see this glamorous photo of me inside the Hagia Sophia with what we like to call hostile hair. This is what happens when you apply copious quantities of baby powder to your hair, in the absence of any dry shampoo, to minimize contact with the lone communal bathroom down the hall. But anyway, under Justinian, there was this advisor/historian named Procopius, and he published a lot of really respected military histories while he was alive. But what no one knew was that this respected gentleman of court was also writing down all of the gossip, all of the scandals, and keeping a secret history of his colleagues in his spare time. He wrote down what the generals' wives got up to in their husband's absence, how the pious empress Theodora would threaten to kill people in order to see certain marriages and alliances that she wanted to have happen occur, how Justinian would waste a ton of money on random stuff. And you can tell that he really grew to hate these people. One of the last chapters is called Other Incidents Revealing Justinian as a Liar and a Hypocrite. Procopius obviously kept this a secret while he was alive, but he made it shared and public after his death with the title Anekdota, which means not to publish, or kind of the equivalent of confidential or top secret or something like that. And the Anekdota made such an impact, it really changed the perception of this supposedly pious emperor, that over time, the word anecdote tended to be more associated with these personal stories of Procopius than the original meaning, which was not to publish. This book, by the way, is one of the books that was lost in the Vatican archives. We knew it existed because there are all of these records of people talking about it, but we couldn't actually find the book itself because there aren't that many editions of these old books. It was rediscovered in the Vatican archives in the 1600s and republished with the name The Secret History. And it was actually even censored a little bit because he really hates these people and makes some pretty extreme allegations about them. But this book, originally the Anekdota, now known as The Secret History, has kind of made an impact ever since. Newsweek describes it as, quote, one of the supreme hatchet jobs of all time, end quote. In any case, the word anecdote now basically just means personal story. It originally meant not to publish, but thanks to Procopius's Anekdota, tell-all novel about the Justinian court, we now just think of anecdotes as personal stories. The next 2 episodes are by far my favorite this season, so be sure to tune in for the next 2 episodes. I think you're really going to love them. They're so interesting. And yeah, I will see you guys then. As always, be sure to become a Vocabit member if you're not one already. Instead of just getting the audio, for these historical episodes, you get a whole video with art and text to take your learning to the next level and make everything so much easier to conceptualize. You can sign up at vocabit.com, and that's VOC and then Abbott like my last name, ABBETT. I'll see you guys there.